Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday and welcome to the Buddhist Biohacker. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please don't forget to click subscribe if you have not already. My name is Lisa Gunshore and I am your demystification guide. And I am so excited to be here again this week for another fabulous show. And good morning. Lots of you guys are joining in the live, so welcome in. We love it. Good morning, Carrie. I see your comment already. Please share it where you're from. Say good morning. I'd love to hear how your week went this week. It's been an interesting week with the new moon. And I would love to welcome our special guest, brand new to Buddhist Biohacker, Adrien Blackwell. Welcome, Adrien.
Hi.
Hi. Yay. We finally did this. I was really excited to make this happen, and I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's so good. So I want to start out because you're new to the community. I think there's a lot of people who probably don't know who you are and what you do, for you to just share a little bit about who you are and what you're up to these days.
Well, my name is Adrien Blackwell. I am considered a celebrity healer, and what I do is I help people create the lives they really want by learning how to manifest and removing the blocks. And one of the things that I love most about what I do is that a lot of people have heard of the law of attraction. I'm sure everybody has heard of it at this point, 20 years later. Have learned the law of attraction. A lot of people used it and they thought they either did it wrong or it just doesn't work. And so they really don't know the secret on how to really create and manifest. And so I teach people that, and I teach them literally how to master it.
I love that so much. And I want to hear your story. I want to know how did this all happen for you? Like, how did you get started in your own healing practice?
I was born. That's my story right there. I was born. I was born to do this, and I know I was born to do this. And I always tell people that I remember being like 5 years old, and my fantasy was like taking fairy dust and sprinkling it on people's houses so that they would be happy. And and I'm like, my dream came true. I do not fly around and I do not have fairy dust, but I go into people's homes. I don't have to fly anymore because we have the internet, we have phone. I don't have to fly, and I get to make people happy. I really get to bring joy into people's lives. And so that was how my story really began, was that dream that I had at 5 years old. And then from there, my mother handed me a book by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And
Yes.
I was 12 years old when I read that. And I tried the affirmation thing and it worked. And I was like, oh, I got to remember that for the future. I was 12 and I was like, I got to remember that for the future. So I put the book down after 3 weeks of playing with it. And I was just like, oh my God, it works. And then I didn't read it again until I was 19. And then it became like my Bible. It was in my purse. It was in my car. I'd get another copy when that one got worn down. And I would just use it and use it and use it. And I learned from there. And then at the same time, I had just had my daughter. I was like 19 years old. And I was like, how do I help this planet? Because I refuse to work for anybody else ever again. Because I've been working since I was like 12. And I wanted to become a massage therapist. And I don't know how I was planning on doing this, because listen to this. So I go to do the whole massage therapy thing. And they tell me that the course doesn't even start for another 6 months. And I was like, I can't just sit around and do nothing for 6 months. Like, I can't do it. So there was this college called the Twin Lakes of Healing Arts. And I go there and I'm like, hey, do you guys have a massage therapy class? And they were like, no, we do more of like healing work. And I'm like, well, what is that? So I go in and I have a conversation with them, and I was supposed to take Brima. Like, I was like, can you keep your clothes on when you do this? Like, how was I planning on doing massage therapy when I have to take my clothes off? So it didn't really make sense, but I actually asked them, like, do you get to keep your clothes on? What is it? So finally I was like, okay, I'll take it. The woman tells me specifically, now I'm at the school. So this woman tells me specifically that I do not have to pay for the course right now. I have the money in hand, but she's like, you can just come like the day of the class. It's fine. So it was like 2 weeks later. My car broke down, so I had to take the bus to get to this place. And when I get there, she's like, oh my God, I've been trying to call you for the last hour. Where have you been? I'm like, I was on the bus. It took me like 90 minutes to get here. And she said the class got filled up. She's like, which is really unusual, but the class got filled up, and so you can't take the class. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, what else do I cake. Like, do you have anything else starting today and I get to keep my clothes on? Like, that literally was all I needed. And she said, yeah, we have Reiki. And I'm like, what's that? And she goes, well, kind of hard to explain. And I was like, hey, I get to keep my clothes on, whatever. Let's go. I want to do this. And that was how I got introduced into Reiki. And Reiki changed my life. I'm not going to lie. Like, Reiki had like the doors open for me. And then I learned how to become a Reiki master, a Reiki teacher. From there, I learned medical Qigong. From there, I learned reflexology. I learned massage. I learned shamanic healing. I learned theta healing. I learned reconnection, regenesis. I did not stop. And I did that for 12 years. And that's how I started my journey, is I actually just started working on myself.
Yeah.
And then it was like one day, I went from being a celebrity psychic, doing TV and radio and everything, and thinking that was who I was and that was my life. Okay. If you had asked me, who are you? I would have said, I'm a psychic. And people would be like, is that really who and what you are? I eat, breathe, and sleep it. That's what I am. And then one day it was like, I embodied the healing work, and I started giving my clients like free 15-minute sessions, all my psychic clients. And that was it. They were like, can I buy a package and do that? And so it completely got transformed to where I didn't do psychic readings anymore. I started watching The Miracle of Healing.
Yeah. Well, and I think there is just there's typically, I would say, some kind of transition from reading people into just doing the deep healing work, because that's really what you're doing anyways, when you're sharing and pointing to truth is, okay, this is what you have to do. Because I don't know about you, but you get a lot. I went through that period as a psychic reader where they keep coming back with the same stuff. And eventually it's like, no, we really have to fix what's broken, right? Like, we can't keep talking about what's going to happen, because what's happening is what you create, right? It's like, it goes against your own universal laws when you start looking at it that way. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta get something done about the past. And if you can't, then you stay stuck. And that's just human nature. I mean, you go through trauma, and people will start repeating the same stories over and over again of their trauma. And they start creating the same scenarios, and they wonder, like, I just left that man over there and then I attracted a new one and it's the same man. Same issues, right? Or you move into a house and it's this is one I've actually seen. So you move into a house that's moldy, and then every time you move, the house is moldy. Like, you attract the same thing over. It's crazy. It's crazy when you stop it and you actually look at it and you're like, what is my pattern? What is my loop? And then people don't think they're responsible for that thing or that they're attracting it. And then we look at it and go, well, why didn't that person experience it then if you're not attracting it? Why is it just happening to you? When there's a billion different scenarios and you keep attracting the same one? The odds of that, so if we were really looking at statistics, like, what are the odds if you have a billion different things that you could be experiencing and you keep experiencing the same thing? Really, what are the odds? I would like somebody to tell me that one. It can't be good odds at all. But yeah, it keeps happening. And I think there is the proof. But you help people find the proof. You help people understand that. And here is I'm one of those people. I'm a control freak. No matter how much healing I do, there's a level of control freakishness in me. I got rid of a lot of it, but it's still there. And so when it comes to like being a control freak, you really hate the idea that you're somebody else's victim. You really hate the idea that you have no control over the situation. But as soon as somebody tells you you have control, you freak out. Like, I'm not to blame for this situation. It's not my fault. And then it's like, well, how do you have both? Like, how do you be a victim and then not be a victim at the same time? So you actually have to think about, like, it's upsetting at first. And then you get to a point where you realize, well, if I can take responsibility, not blame, but if I can take responsibility for where I am energetically, I keep creating this thing. That means I can change it. That means I can change it. And so when you're able to change it, you realize you have all the power of the world.
Yeah.
And it becomes the most amazing thing ever after that. But at first, it's shocking.
Yeah. Well, and how do you where do you start with your patients and your clients with that? Because, where's the starting point to get to the self-responsibility, right? Because that is a big part of it, is recognizing that we create our lives and that what we're creating is perpetuating a pattern that somehow is serving us? Like, what's your starting point?
It's so simple and it's so easy and it's so lovely. I start with, what do you want in your life?
Hmm.
And because if you can get into the joy of, I know exactly what I want to create, I know exactly how I want my future to look. And sometimes the only thing a person knows is what they don't want. And that's enough. Because if you can tell me what you're tired of experiencing, we know where to start, right? We're like, okay, so there's a pattern you want to get rid of. So what is the opposite of that thing? What do you want to experience on the other side? And a lot of times people can't heal because they don't know what they want the end thing to be. They only know that they want it, whatever they're experiencing to end. And then other times they know exactly what they want. And both are a starting point for us to
Hmm.
get to the other side. And that's what I tell people too about this, the psychic stuff. What got tiring for me is going, okay, this is the road that you're on. This is what's happening. As a healer, I get to go, what road do you want to be on? And let's get you there.
Hmm.
So that's really the starting point. And then we can start looking at what are the patterns, what created that, how we get beyond that. And a lot of times when you're doing the healing work, you're really just changing belief systems so that people can start believing in themselves enough to take the action that they need and take the right action. Because what you'll find is that when you're panicked, when you're afraid, when you're just tired of the same thing happening over and over again, you actually don't make good decisions. And it's no different than being on a plane, and if they didn't tell you that, if there's an emergency, these things are going to come down that you have to put on your face, you would panic, you would freak out, and you wouldn't know what to do. You wouldn't put it on your face, and you would die,
Hmm.
probably. If it gets to that point where you need that oxygen to survive. And so it's getting you prepared. It's teaching you how to deal with those energies. It's teaching you how to deal with your own trauma. It's teaching you how to deal with your own emotions so that you're like, I'm not going to panic. I know exactly what to do to fix this situation.
Hmm.
That's crazy amazing to be
Hmm.
prepared, to
Hmm.
energetically know, to mentally know, to spiritually know that you can handle anything. All of a sudden, the decisions aren't that hard to make. And so you start making better decisions. You start using your intuition instead of your fear-based thinking, what they
Hmm.
call the reptilian mind.
Hmm.
You stop using that to make your decisions. And that's an incredible journey on its own because you're like, wow, I'm capable. I made a decision on my own. It was a good decision. It worked out great, when it didn't before. So there's so many ways of doing this, but that's what can happen when you change a belief system. But for a lot of people, if the trauma is too hard and too deep, it doesn't work. You can change the belief system, but you don't change the pattern. You don't change the fear underneath it, right? It's still there. Your inner child is still like, I'm hiding. I'm scared. No, I don't want to deal with this. And the adult you is like, oh, no, I'm fine because I don't feel it anymore. I'm like, there's a subconscious mind under there.
Hmm.
And so now we have to change the experience, change what you're experiencing in your life, and then everything changes. And
Hmm.
that's really cool.
It is. Well, and you bring up a good point, when you get a psychic reading, or if you are a psychic giving a reading, what you're looking at is the current trajectory of what you're creating. That's ultimately what we're reading, is your current timeline based on what you're creating. And it's easy to get caught up in, well, what's next and what's going to happen? And does this person like me? And is this thing
Yeah.
going to happen? Versus stepping back and doing the real work, which is looking at why this trajectory is even in front of you in the first place and what you're creating. And like you said, being able to say, what do you want to create? I mean, that's really what it comes down to when you are receiving information. So, yeah, the days of predicting things, I mean, there's always a place for that, but I agree with you where it's much more supportive for everyone to be able to really work on the what you're creating, why you're creating, what you want to have, versus focusing on what's actually going to happen, because that could change based on what you decide to do inside your own subconscious, right?
Yep. And that is the beauty of psychic readings too, because you start to do them differently. And that. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, we're still going to give you control over your life. This is just where you are. Do you want to change it or not? It's up to
Mhm.
you. And so that really gives the power back to the person to go, I'm just telling you this so you can change it or go with it, one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it, Adrian. And I think that's what a lot of us are shifting into is it's really about giving the power back to you as an individual. Like you have this power and ability and there's a lot of teachers who still aren't doing that. And I think it's really important for everybody out there who's listening when you're making a decision to connect with a reader or a healer or the channel or an intuitive or whatever language they're using is to really look at what are they pointing to? Are they pointing you back to yourself? Or are they pointing you to XYZ that they want you to buy? That's how you tell the difference between authenticity and not, right?
You said XYZ that they want you to buy. This is so true.
It
Yeah.
is. I mean, we talk about this stuff all the time on the show, all the BS that's out there. And there's a lot of it. And so it's really important, what you're bringing up today, Adrien, is really important because there is a lot of truth in whether you're working as a psychic or a medium or whatever you're doing is being able to say, it's a reading. I'm reading your energy and looking at what's to come. It's not a telling or a taking your power away or a control mechanism. And if it is, then you're not with the right reader, is what I would say.
Yeah, it's true. And I always like to say that, everybody's on their own journey and not every reader has that information to be able to empower people yet. And so they're at the start of their journey. And eventually people get there. Most people get there. But you still have to be cautious and go, is this person at the beginning of their journey or in the middle? Are they towards the end of their journey and have 30 years experience or whatever? You can actually do your homework and do your research first. And not saying that people who are just beginning can't be this way, but it's just recognizing that everybody is at a certain stage of their journey. And so not everybody is going to be a good fit for where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Agreed. We have a great comment. Hope is sharing. I have had such limiting beliefs about myself and success, and I know that I cannot continue that way. I need to support myself and my 4 kids, and I'm trying to get that confidence back. So thank you for sharing that, Hope, and being vulnerable about that. And yeah, I mean, we all have those limiting beliefs. We all have blocks to success. And, Adrien, I don't know about you. I don't know how is controversial the right word we want to get on YouTube, but I have noticed that a lot of these limiting beliefs we have as healers, as empaths, as intuitives, as psychics, whatever term you want to use, those blocks to success have a lot to do with what success looks like in our society. And it doesn't look pretty. And it's full of a lot of ego, and it's full of a lot of elite and control and power. And so there's this association with that. And I think that's part of our block is, well, I can't be successful as, a spiritual person because spiritual people aren't successful, or spiritual people don't have those things or that ego or that, right? There's all those programs, those tapes that play, right?
Think you were just talking about my life?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. But no, it's true. I that was the reason I didn't want to be a healer in the first 12 years of my life. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't for the simple fact that it gave me 12 years of learning to do. But I'm telling you, people would be like, you're going to be a healer. I had psychics tell me for years, different psychics, you're going to be a healer. And I'd be like, I'm not a healer. And in my mind, it was because success in society comes from having a magical power. And me being able to predict your future and tell you stuff that is astounding and that actually you think I'm crazy, but 3 months later it happened, is where you're going to get your success from, is where you're going to get your money, your recognition, the referrals. And by the way, being a great psychic does not always bring referrals, because I would attract people, and thankfully this happened. I would attract people who are like, I don't want to share you with people because then I'm not going to be able to get in. You're going to have a year or 2-year waiting list. And people would literally hoard me, like no joke, hoard me, right? So I even had, when I finally told people that I wasn't going to do this anymore, I had people email me and like, there's no other good psychic out there that I found. Like, you have to keep doing this. And I'm like, I was like, I really created this whole scenario where this is who I am. Like, this is really nuts. And so I didn't think people would pay me to be a healer. I didn't feel like that's where the attention was, where the money was, where the success was. And so I was like, no, that's not what I do. And it really comes down to exactly what you just said, which is our society's kind of idea of what success is, how you get there, what it looks like, what is success. And I just did this interview on the Lavish Abundance show. And I was like, success is different for different people. Like, I had a conversation with somebody who was telling me success is a tiny house. Like, they want to live in a tiny house. Like, they want to create a tiny house. And I'm like, that is not my version of success, but that is success in itself. That explains what you're saying, which is for each and every one of us, it should be our own story, what we want in the end. And most times when you actually really tap into helping people figure out what it is that they really want, it's not their version out there of success. It's not your family's version. It's not society's version. It's not the norm. Most people actually want something different. And that could be in your love life. You want a non-traditional relationship. In your finances, maybe you just want to work enough to be a little more than comfortable. You want to be, just where you don't have to struggle for anything anymore. The struggle is gone. And after that, you just want to travel. Like, you don't want to spend your time being productive all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's once we get out of society's version of success and we get into our own version of success is actually a lot easier to obtain. And for some people, it might be a millionaire with a mansion, but that's your version. So you can go after that. Not everybody's going to get that because that's not what they want.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You have to define what success really looks like for you without the programming that we've been given about what it's supposed to look like, and how it's supposed to feel. And there's also those tapes that play in our head that, we have to have, like you said, the magical power, like, well, that person is a successful musician and they're radically successful because they have this special thing. And so I think, this whole time period we're in, this global awakening, this age of Aquarius wave that we've moved into, is this realization that we each have these unique inherent gifts and that we are all meant to be successful. There's this pyramid that we've been operating on, and the pyramid is the elite are up here and it trickles down, and then there's all of us down here. And what's happening is that pyramid is inverting. And all of us are meant to live in this abundance and in this
Oh,
light,
yeah.
and sharing our gifts. And so it takes courage to step into your own gifts. It takes courage to accept responsibility for what you've created, even if it wasn't very good, especially if it isn't very good. You have to have the courage to say, you know what, I just created this pile of poo, and now I have to go fix it and do something different. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm. I just created this pile of food.
Yeah. That's my
It takes
PG
it
version.
that right there makes it so much easier to stomach.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I just created this pile of poop.
It's my PG version of what I want to say. But isn't that it? I mean, because that's what we do. We have to stop and say, well, why am I bringing this in? I mean, and it doesn't go away, by the way. It doesn't matter how much inner work you've done or shadow work, I mean, I just went through it myself this weekend of really having to look at some things that I've created for myself on a personal level, that it's like, well, I created this. Like, I have to accept why I did that and really look at how it's actually serving me, because it's always doing something for you. You can't complain about it, but it's
Yep.
always doing something for you.
Yeah, it's true. But I still like the whole pile of poo because it makes it so much easier to look at when it's just like, oh, it's just, yeah. And I think the other reason I really want to use this, because it's like you made it like a little pile. It's like just a little pile over there. It seems like it's more manageable than just being like, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you guys need to write that one down. I don't know if you say that on a regular basis, but I'm like, I kind of like that a lot. Like, I get to take responsibility for that right there. It's just a little thing that I could change. A little pile of poo over there. Yeah. I like that.
As you know, and at the quantum level, like, it's all just, light packages, that's all it is. That's all this stuff is. It's just little photon packages of light. It's not like It's really not as traumatic as it seems to
Yeah,
us. And when
that's
you see
true.
it that way, you can just wipe it away and go to the next thing, right?
Yeah, I like that. But it does, I like the idea because we make taking responsibility for our lives such a huge undertaking, like this huge thing that we just can't change. A lot of people will give up when they think that, wow, if I'm responsible for this, then it's just like it's too big. I can't do it. I can't deal with it. I'm not capable, whatever your storyline is. And so when you bring it into those small terms, it just doesn't feel like it's that hard to handle or deal with. It's like, oh, I can manage that.
Mm-hmm.
I can manage that. And that's always a nice place to come from, where it's like it's not a mountain that we have to move. It's just like baby steps. It's one step at a time. You move these little things, and people can manage that idea. And then when you work your way up to it, you realize you really can move mountains, that you can create really amazing big things. You can get rid of huge traumas. You can start using the scientific elements of healing and manifesting and miracles. So, ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of miracles, let's talk about, your other projects because you have making miracles happen. You have all this great stuff you're doing. I was so honored to be a part of that myself. And, what are you working on now and what do you want to share about all of that?
So my series is called Making Miracles Happen. It's a series that I celebrate holidays, basically doing um, these interviews, just like we're doing right now, incredible interviews with incredible people. And you were one of those
Mhm.
people that I interviewed. And I started, doing Christmas. I did Valentine's Day, and that led into healing because love and healing go hand in hand, and health. And then I went into today is the last day of my Making Miracles Happen birthday edition because May is my birthday, and so we celebrated that way. And I got to have a really cool. This is funny. So I my boyfriend and I decided that we wanted to watch Xena. I think like a year and a half ago. Like oh my god, we haven't watched that since the 90s. So let's do Hercules and then let's do Xena one day. Like this is just a one day we'll sit and every day we'll just watch an episode or something. And it took until November, so it took probably over a year for us to decide to sit down and do it. And we watched Hercules. Divine timing is amazing to me. We watched Hercules first, and then we started getting into Xena, and we have this episode of our favorite villain. She's such a great actress. And before we move on to the next one, he was like, I have a question to ask you. And I was like, what? And he said, like, do you interview, like, is it like just like psychics and healers, or do you interview other people who are just kind of like in that? And I was like, well, anybody who can, talk about miracles, like it doesn't matter what they do. And so he was like, could you go look up that actress? And sure enough, she does yoga, she does astrology. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh my
wow.
God, what? So he's trying to convince me of why I should be, asking her to be on the show. And I've already like messaged her, like emailed her, messaged her. And so I actually got a chance to interview her. And she talks a lot about, because she's a yoga teacher, she does astrology, and she talked a lot about enlightenment. And that was so much fun to do that interview, just because we realized the
Mm-hmm.
timing of everything, because we actually had a conversation afterwards about the timing of all of this was incredible. And so I'm such a believer in divine timing. I use divine timing. My life is about divine timing. You coming on the show was divine timing, because of what we're doing later on in the month, right? And
Yeah.
so it's really fascinating to me of how all of this came about. And the only reason I'm doing this series in the first place is because my guides came to me and told me I need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, voice was
Yeah.
like, this is what you need to do. And so I was like, well, I don't have to question it because they told me. I don't have to try to manifest something because they're just telling me what to do. So all I got to do is take that step. And everything has been perfectly aligned all the way down to today, which is pretty amazing to me. So, anyways, my series that is ending today. Today is the replay where everybody gets to actually watch the end, and then I move on to Halloween. I get to take a 3-month hiatus, a break that is much needed. And
Yeah,
we
I get
talked, and you
that.
were like, "I'm not taking a break until like what was it, 2032 or something?" I was like, "What? I
Well, I
can't
took a
do
little
that."
break. I took May and June, so this month or actually April and May. So last month and this month I took a little break from clients, still doing shows and everything. But yeah, I know how you you feel like after you do something like that? You're wiped out.
Since October, I have done 80 something interviews. Like it was nonstop. It was nonstop interviews. And then, planning the whole every time, the series comes out. So I was like, let me take that 3-month hiatus from filming and then let's go back for Halloween. So Halloween, I'm really excited about too, is because I get to have each and every speaker either tell us an angel story, a miracle story, do a healing at the end. Like it's going to be different because it's Halloween. It's kind of like you're kind of expecting that mystical, supernatural level. And so I'm like, that'd be really cool, paranormal, whatever it is, but you get a story at the end. And what I love about people who educate is when they entertain at the same time, because you remember things. And storytelling is just the oldest way of sharing information. And I know for a fact that if my speakers can share a story that is memorable to someone, even if they don't remember exactly what it is that you do, they'll remember your name and they'll look you up later if they need you. Like, I remember that story. Who told that story? So stories are a great thing for speakers. It's a great thing for the audience. It's a great way to stay engaged, to be entertained. And so I'm like, I'm going for that. Like, I'm excited about this. So I'm very excited. But each and every one has been miraculous for its own reason. It's really incredible.
Oh, that's so exciting. I of course love Halloween. It's like my favorite holiday always. And I used to do, it's kind of funny. I used to celebrate Halloween every year by I would only talk to like famous dead people on Halloween for my clients. So like they would just come and we talked to all sorts of crazy people. So we talked to Al Capone and we talked to Edgar Casey and we talked to, it was just one of those things. I haven't done that in a really long time. So now I might have to do that this Halloween because it was always so fun. Halloween is so special, it's just a special time.
Don't miss out on the opportunity to have fun.
Yeah, totally.
Like now, all the work that we're doing, we need it.
We do. My cat just unplugged everything. So hold on 1 second.
Kitty.
Kitty. Little Cauldron. She's my sweeties. Here she is. Everybody loves Cauldron.
Really? Is her name Cauldron?
Her name is Cauldron.
Aww.
She's my magical kitty, and she's so sweet. But she just unplugged everything. She's like our little mascot of Buddhist Biohacker, huh?
Hi. I had an all-black cat.
Mom, put me down.
I had an all-black cat named Winston when I was growing up. Reminds me of Winston.
I love that. Yeah, she's a little sweetie, but she did just unplug. I was like, my screen just went black. That's not right. At least it was on my second monitor, so it wasn't on this one.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well.
She just wanted to make an appearance. Like, I've arrived.
She did. She wanted everybody to see. Every once in a while, she hasn't been on in a while, and sometimes she crawls up here and she just wants to be the star of the show, which is so funny. I want to talk about Quantum Miracles because you and I are both in Quantum Miracles Mastery docuseries. And so what are you talking about in this series? I want to hear about this.
The miracle of healing. The miracle of healing. Yeah, I don't know where I would be without healing, to be honest with you. Like if I had stayed on the level of I'm just going to do psychic readings and kind of work on myself here and there and not really embody this work, I have no idea where I would be. But I've seen so many miracles happen doing the healing work. People having diseases that they tell me disappear because I don't know what happens. I can't go in and do an x-ray for you or whatnot. So I really just have to take people's testimonials and what they tell me. And when you come and tell me that something was there and now it's gone, or that a chronic pain has disappeared, or my depression is completely gone, I don't have anxiety anymore. When people are experiencing, they couldn't sell their house and all of a sudden their house still, like that trips me out too. Because they're like, yeah, it's been on the market for 3 years. We can't sell it. Can you help me with that? And I'm like, of course. Yes, I have confidence in what I do. And within 30 days, it sells. These are all miracles. It's something that you needed to have happen or wanted to have happen, and it happens, right? And you couldn't do it before. And so all of these miracles that just come in waves, and then learning how to do it to where it's not even supernatural anymore. It's not even like this mystical thing. It's like, oh, I know how to create a miracle now, And so there's that healing, the miracles and healing. And so I talk at length about that. And I love the way Melissa asked questions on that series, like the lightning round at the end. I was like, what? Put me on the spot, like, and then that was like so much fun. I was like in shock at first,
Me
and then it
too.
was
I
so
was
much
like,
fun.
what do you mean lightning round? I wasn't prepared for this. I agree. I thought the same thing.
And then I was like, at the end, I was like, that was so cool. I kind of want to steal it, I want to do that to people. Let me scare you. So that was so cool. But guys, it's divine timing, because Melissa, the one who hosts that docuseries, she was on the same show as you.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was on Making Miracles Happen, the health edition. And so that was really cool. And that's how all this unfolded. And we're gonna like be taking the stage with some of the incredible people that I follow. Like I followed Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and I always
Bruce
forget how to
Lipton.
pronounce his name, but Miguel Ruiz, I think is how you pronounce
Don
it.
Miguel Ruiz and Bruce Lipton is like, I can't tell you how many times I've read Biology of Belief. And so to be sharing a stage with Bruce Lipton is so incredible. And yeah, it's so synchronistic. I'm so grateful to you because it just is all worked out in this synchronistic way, for all of us to be able to work together. And I've got an event coming up in October also for Radical Compassion Month to celebrate Gandhi's birthday and be advocates for nonviolence. So you'll be sure to get a call from me and
Awesome.
Melissa too, because it's going to be an incredible event. So we'll all be busy with our fairy dust sprinkling in October, it sounds like.
Exactly, the fairy dust sprinkling, what we've been called to do. I love the fact that the call has been so clear. This has been happening to people for so long, but it's for us. I can see that the call has been wider spread. It's been very precise. Like, you need to do this work now. Like, people need this work now for so many people, and that we are willing to show up for it, because there's a lot of people who are getting the message and the hint and they're not showing up. So I'm like, everybody's on their journey, no judgment there, but it's so refreshing. It's so nice when I get to meet people who are showing up, and we're like, we have work to do. We have to do it. So it's like, it gets to benefit the rest of the world when we show up. And hopefully those of you that are getting the message that it's time to get started in something new, it's time to present yourself to the world, it's time to start helping people, that you'll eventually start to listen, because we can't do this without you.
It's true. We talk about saying yes on this show all the time, and that's it. I mean, you just have to say yes. When it lands, you just have to go and figure out the logistics as you go. I don't know about you, Adrien, but it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to go do this thing and I'm going to have to figure it out as I go. Like, there's really never, but you're always supported. But you do just kind of have to say yes and just do it, and trust that you're going to learn what you need to learn as you go through the process.
And get beyond the freak out moments, because every time you level up in life, every time you say yes through your own fears, you are going to come up against your own brick wall. See that brick wall behind me? You're going to come up against your own brick wall, and you have to determine if you want to go through it or if you want to turn around and back off, right? And I even just when my guys were telling me to do the Making Miracles Happen series, because it's an ongoing series. I don't know how long I'll be doing it, but it's an ongoing theme. We'll be talking miracles for a long time. I freaked out, and I had an opportunity to back out and say, you know what? I don't think I'm going to go any further with this. And then I had an opportunity to go, I can get through that fear and just say yes and continue moving on. And I actually had to do a lot of healing on myself to make that first step of, I'm going to ask people to come to my party. And it's weird too. And this is how I would like to explain it, because I'm sure this will help somebody. A lot of people will come to me and be like, well, how am I supposed to do this? I'm not as successful as you. You did TV, you did radio, you did this, you did that. And I'm like, it doesn't really matter, because I've done TV and I've done radio and people know who I am. And yet I still sat there and go, these people aren't going to want to show up to my party. Like, I can't ask somebody who's bigger than me. I can't ask somebody who has more success, or the storyline was huge. It was huge. And so I sat there and I was like, my alarm just went off. So I sat there and I was like, they're going to say no. I'm going to get rejected. They're just going to say no. And so for me to say, yes, I got, the actress Hudson Leak, and I got people from Oprah. I got you to say yes. I got all these people who said yes. And I did get some no's. And I realized these people are probably busy, or they don't do the kind of interviews anymore. I mean, they're beyond that. You get tired after a while, especially when you're older, because it's usually older people that say no. And then you have people who are super grateful and like, oh my God, I can't wait to do this. I'm so excited. And so I got to experience the whole range of it. But in my mind, I only thought people were going to tell me no.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my hurdle. And it didn't matter where I was, like I said, it doesn't matter how much success I had in the past. When I leveled it up, I had to come against my own brick wall. And it's like, do you stop or do you keep moving forward? And I kept moving forward. And it's not necessarily the easiest thing, but when you do it, the miracle is on the other side, because what would have happened if I said no to this. Look at all the opportunity that would not have happened.
Yeah.
I get to reach people on a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet thing has taken off, especially since the pandemic. So, if I hadn't said yes to this, I would still be like, oh, I'm old school. I used to do TV. I used to go drive in to do the radio. Like, that doesn't even happen anymore. Like, people don't even do that anymore.
Yep.
I would have felt my age at that point. So.
Well, and I think what's so cool about the collaborations that we're all doing is, and what you're talking about yeses and nos, is there is a level of trust that we all have that whoever says yes is who's meant to be part of our movement. Like, that's really what it is. Like, we all have a mission and a movement. And when you say yes to that, like, we know that's the universe saying yes to that person, to the collaboration, to the effort, to the commitment, all of those things. And, and those folks that say no, for me anyways, I kind of think, you know what, like, they're just not aligned with like what I'm doing right now. And I also I actually, I got some really great yeses that ended up being pretty scattered, and they weren't able to support and like what we were doing. And that made me really look at myself and my own commitments. And at the same time, I also got some no's that were really awesome and functional, boundary oriented, that were like, I just can't commit to doing this at this time. Like, I can't get behind it in the way that I should, but keep me in mind for future. And I share these two things because I want you guys to really think about your commitments, because those of us that say yes sometimes say yes too much. and so through the collaborative effort, I've learned my own yeses and nos. I've learned when I can say, listen, I can get behind this 110%. I can do for you what I would want you to do for me. And I've also learned when I've had to say, you know what, I can't do this in the right way, and that, going back to what you said about the taking some time off, that's part of what my taking a break was. And I'm sure it's part of yours too, is recognizing like when we do need to slow down, because Spirit really asked us to go at the speed of light in 2020. And so now there's this kind of like balancing. I don't know if you've experienced that, but it's kind of like, okay, I have to slow down. I have over 700 videos on YouTube. I've got to get organized. Like, I can't do all these other things. I mean, you do get overwhelmed, and then you have to take a break.
That was what I felt, was the overwhelm and having to take a break. But it's interesting. We had a conversation because I interviewed you for what, 2 hours, like close to 2 hours, because I interviewed you for both. I forgot I interviewed you for love and for health, and a lot of what you said is just kind of starting to come back to me, like some of the stuff that you said that you're bringing up now, just about moving forward and saying yes. And what really stuck with me that you had said was that you had did this, and when people, because it's hard work, you guys, like this is not like the easiest thing, and then we bring to you a lot of these gifts for absolutely free, and it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of effort, it's hours and hours and hours we put into this because we have the call to do it, and we want to help the planet that we live on. And so Lisa, I don't remember how you worded it, but you basically were telling me if people can't show up in the way you need them to, then you're like, screw it, they don't need to be on the show. And when you said that, it was like, okay, so I get to say no to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not begging you to come on here. I get to say no to whoever and then I was like, and I get to determine how you show up. And if you can't do it, then that way I get to say no again, right? So it turned the tables of people are going to say no, 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 no to me to I can be the one who says no sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to do that. But it was, this is a prime example I'm telling you. So we need to keep everything organized, as you're saying, organized.
Yeah.
We need to keep everything organized. We need it to be really simple because, again, this takes hours and hours and hours to do. We have to remember who the speaker is, what they, we have to remember all of this stuff so that we can interview you. I don't know how Oprah does it. I'm just like, Oprah, wow. That production team, anybody who's helping you out, oh my God, give them a hand, give them a present, give them something, a thank you. So this guy is like, he came to me and he said, my wife said I should reach out to you. And he said that he's very well known and gave me the numbers and stuff. And I was like, okay, so what I need you to do, I would love to interview you, but what I need you to do is fill this out so I have everything in one place. Oh, it's on my website. And I was like, it doesn't work for me. I don't have the time to go to your site and start picking and pulling. Like, what do you want me to have? Like, what do you want to share with the community? And can we put it all in one place? And it wasn't all in one place. It's like, I have to go here and do this. And then I have to fill out the form. And I was like, you know what? And there's no judgment on that. He is at a place where he doesn't have to fill it out.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Like, he's so successful. He doesn't need to be a part of my show. But at the same time, I don't have the time and I don't want to have the time to have to fill it out for you. And so therefore it just wasn't a match. But but when I did that, when that no was there, that we can't move forward with this, your words ring in my ear on how you said that. Because it was like 3 or 4 sentences that you told me that just stuck with me. Like, they have stuck with me this whole time. Like, that empowered me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, and to be transparent, I mean, that is the truth. So we did, I did over 150 interviews for Buddhist Biohacker last year. And I also did 4 summits. So I did over 400 interviews in 1 year. It was insane, by the way. I will never do that again. That was crazy.
I can't imagine how you did it now. I'm trying to.
Oh, I know. Although we're already 50 episodes in and it's only May and the Buddhist Biohacker here, and we've already done another summit. But all that to say, I worked with over 300 different practitioners, and my gosh, it was a journey of learning. I mean, you learn a lot about boundaries. So, it's a lot to say yes to doing these collaborative projects, but there is shadow work. There is a learning about what we are committing to, what we are doing for others, who's willing to collaborate and share. There's a lot of people who didn't even share that they were on my show. And so, those are the things where you have to step back. And one of the things that I learned, and this is a very transparent, but you guys know me, I'm pretty much tell it like it is. But, Adrien, one of the big things that I learned is, and it was through you, like, you had asked me to be part of making miracles happen. And it was the first time I was being asked to actually do this. I mean, here I am doing all this work, and you know how this goes. You're being, doing all this work yourself. And then finally it was like, oh, I'm finally being asked to do this. And I had a hard time making space for it. And that was when I had to say, what am I creating in my life? Because what I want to create is a balance of being able to do this work, but also to be recognized for the work I'm doing. And I wasn't making room for the recognition. I wasn't making room to speak out. And that's a big lesson, you guys. Like, that was a big lesson. And it did impact me. And it was part of some of the changes that I made was like, you know what? Like, I want to make space to really get behind some of these other events and collaborations that I want to be a part of. I mean, that was a huge lesson, Adrien, because
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was your first one. I had no idea because of all the stuff you've done and you've been doing.
I know.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, yeah, because before that, I was telling people no. I was like, no, 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 no. And when I got your invitation, I was like, okay, I really want to do this. And it's time for me to step out. It's kind of a funny thing. So yeah, it was the first one I actually did and was able to do. And then in turn was like, okay, I need to make space because this is what I'm supposed to be doing, is doing this.
You did.
speaking and all these things in addition to my own platform. And so I'm grateful for it. And it was a really good learning for me, you know, and that's where you guys have to stop and say, well, when I have time, I'll do this, or I really want to write a book, but I don't have time for it, or I really want to do this and I don't have time for it. You have to stop and ask yourself why you're not making time to do what you were meant to do. And that's what I did. And you know what? I finished my book this weekend. It's done.
Wow.
It's in the editing process now. So it should be out in the next 6 weeks, I think. I did finish that. And I am in the new series with Melissa and Adrien. And, I am in more things actually coming up. And that was part of just, you kind of have to, our time and space is malleable. So you kind of have to just move things where it actually supports what you want to create instead of just filling up the space because you're so mission driven. Because I don't know about you, but like I'm mission before money. I'm super mission driven. And then you forget, oh yeah, I have to eat and rest. And I also want to be part of other people's collaborations and so on and so forth.
I'm still shocked. I'm like, seriously, you showed up and said yes to me for 2 interviews, not one, but 2, one on love, one on health. And then within 2 months, you were sharing the stage with like some of the biggest spiritual leaders.
Well, it's a long time coming. I mean, I'll tell you guys that much. I've been speaking for years at, doing all of the holistic fairs and those events. And like you said, those are kind of like, I mean, they're probably going to kick back off again this year if they haven't already. But like you said, that kind of time is done. And it's time for the global stage to really begin. And so I think, I've been super active in all of my local events and speaking and teaching at different holistic fairs and things like that. But now it's time for the other stuff. So, yeah. So thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome for that.
It's great.
It's amazing to me how the community, that's what I love about doing the interviews is like the community comes together. They're like, okay, can you help me? I'm going to help you. Thank you for the opportunity. And then somebody tells, that person about like you're literally becoming a part of a community. And if I had said no to this, I would be on my own. And I actually like it better being part of a community. So I'm just sitting here like, wow, it's really amazing. All the people who said yes are coming together and what I love about the interviews too is hearing somebody's story because people's stories are so unique. So to hear your story, I feel like I'm back at doing an interview because I feel like, wow, I get to listen to this person's story is so phenomenal. Like, what? Really? Like that was your first time saying yes to this. It's so incredible. So incredible what happened after that. I'm just sitting here like, wow. And what I love about saying yes, when you really know something has to be done and you say yes to it, no matter how scary it is, divine timing. Like you don't even have to wonder if you're, oh, am I too late? Am I too early? Like it's divine timing. And I'm listening to you tell me how divine this timing really was.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, everything happens exactly how it's supposed to. And it is time, it is time and it's been time and community is everything. And speaking of community, I just want to remind everyone out there, if you haven't downloaded the Ajata Casa app, please do it. Adrien, you got to get in there. We have almost 500 people in there. We've been open 90 days and it's growing exponentially every single day. So for those of you who aren't aware, I did develop my own social media app. It is nonviolent. There are no algorithms, no tracking, no tracing, no censorship. We just ask that it's not violent and it's not divisive. So we recognize all perceptions of truth in Ajata Casa. Ajata Casa is Sanskrit for infinite and boundless space, and that's exactly what it is. So I do want to remind everybody to get in there, and it's on Apple, it's on Google, it's on the web. Download it, ajatakasa.com, or you can just search AJATAKASA. But yeah, Adrien, you got to get in there because it's so amazing. I mean, people are just sharing their awakenings and their gardening and their cooking and their spirituality and their tarot cards. And it's just so fabulous. It's like an amazing space for all of us to connect. And we do have a webinar next week. Sorry for the plug, guys, but I am going to share it. Free webinar next Thursday, the 20th. All you have to do is go to lisamgunshore.com or ajadacasa.com, and it's an announcement bar right at the top. But I'm going to teach you how to access the content in the app. So we have over 1,000 hours of content in this app: presentations, meditations, divination classes, you name it, it's in there. Not to mention the community space itself. And so you want to come and be a part of that for sure. So that's my plug.
You were not playing when you told me that you were like nonstop.
I am nonstop.
Wow.
That is for sure. And we just keep going. But the community space is so important, and it's so beautiful in there because we can just be ourselves, and it's safe to be ourselves, which is really important. And
it is.
I want to give you space here at the end to share with people how they can get in touch with you and what you have coming up and what you have going on and how they can access you.
So right now we are just ending, like I said, Making Miracles Happen birthday edition. And so I am taking a break when it comes to actually interviewing people, but I'm still doing interviews. I'm still doing amazing things. Like me and Lisa, we're going to be, I think it's May, the end of May. I think my day is May 29th. I think yours was too, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think we're on the same day. I think it's
same day. Yeah. So May 29th we'll be appearing with some incredible speakers. So you should definitely get in on adrienblackwell.com, and I spell that with E-N, not A-N at the end. adrienblackwell.com, and everything is there. Like, if you really, it's just about reaching out to me. Like, people want to talk to me, they can reach out to me. I'm very personable. I will help you out. I'll give you some information. If I'm not right for you, then I'll send you to the person who is. So don't be shy. Reach out if you want to. And then I actually have a webinar that I have going on this month, just for people who have never tried my work before. They don't know what to expect. I always do like a free webinar to educate people and give some healing work. And then it's kind of, I have a lot of interview stuff coming out. It's like I might take a break from that too, because I've been saying yes since day one. But right now I have just my months are full. So if you want to see, and I'm trying to say yes to one of each topic. So like if people want to cover intuition, then I'll do an interview on intuition, because I actually speak to my guides on a regular basis. Like, we actually have conversations. A lot of people are struggling just trying to to listen to their intuition, just to try to get a feeling. They're like, I don't feel anything. And so I get to come and go, this is my experience and how I got to have conversations with my guides where they actually tell me what to do and I don't have to question it. I'm just kind of like, I trust you. I've been working with you for over 20 years. And if you think that I should be doing this, then I'm just going to go ahead and do it and not argue. How to get beyond the fear, when you say no, even when you know you're supposed to be doing it. So I have things like that, at financial stuff like lavish abundance, how to live a life of lavish abundance. I'm just trying to cover every topic I can before I take that real break where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not doing interviews right now. I'm good. I want to give you guys as much information as I can. So that's actually what I'm doing right now.
Cool. I love it so much. And you guys can also, you can search Quantum Miracles Mastery docuseries. I also posted it today in Ajada Casa, so it's in the official feed. And if you're on my mailing list at lisamgunshore.com, I sent out something today, and there'll be some other things going out in the next week or two. So yes, join both Adrien and I on that. It's going to be really, really exciting. And Adrien, I hope you come back. I hope you dive into the community, and I hope we stay connected, because I just really value and appreciate your energy so much.
Thank you. I will definitely be back. I'm saying yes.
Yes, do it. Do it. And thank you. Oh, I just choked. Thank you to everybody out there who's been watching. You guys have so many great comments. Thank you so much, Jeff and Carrie and Nikki and just Hope and everybody who's out there that's sharing all these great comments. I love you so much. And this is our last episode of the week. We are back. Let me look. Okay, so I am part of the Ageless Self-Care Living Guide with Rico Caveglia. He will be on Monday, because we are launching that guide, which is so fabulous. He has over 100 practitioners from around the world who are part of this guide, which is pretty exciting. So he's going to be on. We're back with Marlena from the Bahamas on Tuesday for Tarot Tuesday. I'm looking here at all the stuff I have going on. Oh, and let's not forget, big guest on Thursday, Andrew Bartzis, Galactic Historian, is going to be back with us. And he is so fabulous. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about all sorts of wild and crazy Anunnakis and who knows what else about our history and the ultra terrestrials and everything. So
I want to tune into that.
Oh yeah, Andrew is so great. I love him so much. So he's going to be back next Thursday also. So we have a big power punched week next week. And in the meantime, I will see you guys in the app this weekend and have an amazing day. Thank you so much, Adrien. And thank you for everybody who's watching.
Bye.
Bye.